You are all looking how to turn your program into an employee-friendly mobility program. Doing so, you probably need also to think how you are going to manage your fleet more seamlessly. And that is what we are going to deal with in the next presentation. My guest is Andreas Blin. He is Manager International Sales and Business Development at Has2Be. Welcome, Andreas. Welcome to the Smart Mobility Conference.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon from Salzburg.
Okay, and thank you also for the support as a gold sponsor of this conference. We are eager to learn how we can better manage our fleets across Europe. And I think that you and your company, you have the exact solutions and also the insights to do so. So I will now stop sharing my screen so that you can start sharing yours and can start doing your presentation.
Thank you very much, Stephen, and very warm welcome here from Salzburg in lovely Austria. It's my pleasure today to talk to you about our solutions and about some insights regarding electrification of fleets. I work for the company Has2Be, and we are providing a white label provider of back-end services for electric car charging infrastructure. And in order to start us off, because cars, are somewhat emotional for many of us, but not for all, because a fleet manager will very often not be emotional about cars at all, because a fleet manager has three major jobs. To basically draw it down to the three major jobs: he has to source the cars, he has to operate the cars or make sure that they are operated, and he has to get rid of the cars at the end of their lifetime or in the leasing time. So when we are looking at the fact when we are operating the cars as a fleet manager, we have to provide energy to drive them, the maintenance to use them, and the system to manage them. So it's actually quite easy to break it down. And nothing of this has changed with the advent of electric cars. But the only other thing that has evolved now is that we have a different source of energy, which is electric energy, and this has to be filled into the car in a new way via charging stations and via charging infrastructure. So that is basically what has been added to the job of a fleet manager, and we have to find solutions and offer solutions for the fleet manager to do this in an economic manner, because overall, the fleet manager has to optimize this in cost and performance for his company. That's his job. Of course, everything can always be outsourced, insourced. If you can work together, if you're larger, you can do some things yourselves. Otherwise, you have to ask other companies to do this for you. So really looking at the aspects themselves, our clients who use our system sometimes are offering this to several companies and fleet managers. Some fleet managers who work for companies who are large enough actually are also our direct clients to manage the electric fleet and the electric infrastructure themselves. Coming down to very often I hear the criticism, and this is a quote that I got from a fleet conference a few months ago, where somebody said of 12,500 vehicles he's managing, and the 10 EVs he had until then were more work than the other 12,500 combined. And if we want electric mobility, electric cars to be adopted on a professional level, i.e. in fleets, we have to ensure that these quotes are a thing of the past. And that's what we at Has2Be are working for every day of the week. So when you are managing an infrastructure, of course, on the one hand, you have to manage the hardware. And now many fleet managers say, well, why is this all of a sudden my job? This should be the job of somebody else in the company or some external company to actually provide the hardware, operate the hardware, maybe some 24/7 monitoring, because there can always be some problems at the charge points themselves. These have to be integrated, and maybe there also has to be some smart energy management. So because this is energy going into cars, very often fleet managers are stuck with this job. And I think it's worthwhile to take a step back and sometimes think about whether this is actually located right on the right spot if it's with the fleet manager. In my opinion, sometimes yes, if the fleet manager has the capacity and can build up a team. Otherwise, it might be something for the infrastructure team of a company. When we break down EV use cases, it's not that complicated, because there's basically just three possibilities to charge your car. You can charge your car at work, you can charge your car at home, and mind you, these two cases are more than 80% of car charges overall in the European landscape. And of course, you can charge your car on the road in public charge points. So as complicated as it might seem in the beginning, these are the only three use cases that you can have. Whether you have to pay or not, whether some charge points are open for other people as well or not, it's totally different stories. But breaking down to the really, really basic facts, these are the three use cases. And we have to overlay these three use cases with three types of vehicles in the eyes of a fleet manager and an infrastructure manager. You only have corporate cars, you've got employees' cars, and you've got guest cars or customers' cars who come to your location. So in case number one, a corporate car, so it's actually from the fleet manager we're talking about at the moment. The fleet manager has to be able to accommodate all three charging instances. So charging them at work, charging them probably at home, and charging them on the road. So our solution aims to enable all of these instances for our clients, fleet managers, customers. If it's the vehicle, the EV of an employee, then basically the fleet manager is out of the picture, or the corporate structure is out of the picture, unless, of course, you want to offer to your employees the possibility to charge their car at work, which will become and is becoming a major factor for many companies to actually electrify their parking lots, because they want to offer this to their employees as a fringe benefit, or just something that in the very near future is going to be self-evident that if you work somewhere, you'll be able to charge your car there. And finally, guest EVs, if somebody visits your location, of course, now already and in the future even more, if somebody comes to your company, he will ask you whether he can charge his car. And well, if he has to pay or not is your decision. But the fact is, you have to have a system where you have this choice, because if you operate an infrastructure where you're actually giving out electricity a lot, apart from the compliance issues that you might run into, it's also the reason why should you give this away for free if it's actually energy that you have been paying for. All of this can be solved. It can be solved through our platform. It can be solved through our platform if our clients offer these services to you, or if you're a large enough company to have such an infrastructure for yourself, of course, directly as our clients. And the main factors to solve this are the tariff management, which not only allows you to determine how much somebody has to pay for a charge, but also which charge points are accessible to them. And then, of course, the roaming agreements, where you either allow your corporate drivers to charge all over Europe, or you allow other people to use your infrastructure while they have to pay for it. So again, the cases are not as complicated, but you have to always keep your mind at the right thing.
Andreas, you still have 3 minutes left.
I have 3 minutes. I will be right on time. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
So we are working on a fleet portal where you will have the possibility to put in a multi-hierarchy setup to organize your companies and your entities and your locations and the drivers and cars accordingly, and also to work with operating hours and parking lot management, so that because parking and charging for the right price at the right time is always connected, and we have to ensure that our clients can do this through our software. Our software is called Energized. It sits in the middle of the entire use case of EV charging, It's a software as a service, cloud-based solution. We are the leading provider for this kind of software in Central Europe, and very proud to serve a lot of really interesting customers. Just on KPIs, more than 35,000 charge points are managed in Be Energized. And please have a look at this number. The more than 200,000 charge points are available in white label as a roaming network to our clients and their customers. So very briefly, going through the use case of EV charging for fleets, take into account the only change in the fleet itself is the energy source for driving your cars that has changed from internal combustion engines to electric engines, electric motors, so they need electricity as energy. Infrastructure must be located at the right place in the company, not necessarily fleet management. And fleet management has to think about the 3 use cases that are possible for charging at work, at home, or on the road, and the 3 different kinds of cars. And the matrix out of this gives you a very clear picture of what the job is going to be in this context in the future. And we are there to help you, to consult you, and our clients and are ready, of course, also to serve you with all of these fleet management, electricity, EV charging needs. Thank you very much for your attention. Please do ask me questions through the tool or via LinkedIn. I'm looking forward to answering a lot of them.
Well, Andreas, thank you. Thank you for the presentation and the chat. There is already a reaction that it's a great solution. If you would like to be in contact with Andreas and his team, you can do that, of course, directly via the tool, and you can later on also visit the booth. So thank you very much, Andreas. Thank you, and have a nice conference.
Thank you.